an American V8, a 12-cylinder Italian stallion, or a Japanese inline six. Everyone's got at least one engine sound that gets them going. But what makes them sound different? It's not just the exhaust pipe. Hey, James.
Looks like Nolan got into the NOS energy stash again.
Those dance classes are really paying off though.
Sick moves.
So many parts of the car can have an impact on how an engine sounds, and car companies pour millions of dollars into developing those sounds. Sometimes they f up. To understand engine sound, you must first understand the fundamentals of sound itself. Yep, it's gonna be one of those episodes. The reason we hear it all is thanks to waves of different pressures traveling through the air. Our ears interpret these waves as sound. How fast a wave oscillates is called frequency, and it's measured in hertz. The frequency of a wave determines the pitch. So if the wave is slower, you hear a lower pitch. If the wave is faster, you hear a higher pitch. That's easy, right? You are now a certified audio engineer like Joe. Engine sound is produced after a cylinder fires and sends the exhaust in the form of pressurized air into the exhaust manifold. These are called pulses, and the rate of pulses per second coming out of an engine is what dictates frequency or pitch. Sounds are made up of a bunch of different frequencies. The frequency with the largest amplitude or volume is called the dominant frequency or root tone. The pitch is directly linked to the revolutions per minute, which is what gives us tone change when we're revving the engine. Everything that makes noise has a root tone, and in the case of cars, that frequency can be calculated. Okay, this is where it starts to get a little more complicated, but stay with me here. I'm pretty bad at math too, but trust me, this is how you do it. Engine speed can be converted from revolutions per minute to revolutions per second, then to hertz. 60 revolutions per minute equals 1 revolution per second, or 1 hertz. To make it easy, let's start with a V8, okay? An 8-cylinder engine idling at 1,000 RPM should be about 17 hertz, but this only accounts for 1 cylinder. 4-stroke engines, like V8s, fire 2 cylinders once every 2 turns of the crankshaft, so only half the cylinders in an engine are firing during 1 revolution. Still with me? That makes sense? Great. In a V8, because only 4 cylinders are firing during 1 revolution, we're going to multiply 4 by 17 hertz, giving you a dominant frequency of 68 hertz. This is called the 4th engine order, and it's specific to 8-cylinder engines. Take a V10, for example, one of the coolest sounding engines. We did a bumper to bumper on the Lexus LFA. It has one, it sounds great. To figure out the dominant frequency of a V10 at 6,000 RPM, it's 6,000 divided by 60, 100, multiplied by half the amount of cylinders, 5, which gives us a dominant frequency of 500 hertz at 6,000 RPM. This formula just gets you the dominant tone that the engine produces. There are also quieter frequencies that complement the sound. These quieter tones can be caused by anything from the resonant frequency of the engine bay to the thickness of sheet metal used in the car or the diameter of piping used. Much of the sound we hear from an engine has to do with the car's exhaust system as well. A big fart can exhaust lets out a lot more air at one time, which gives us a bassier tone. That's why you see cars like Sentras or CRXs with huge exhausts trying to beef up the sound of their little four-bangers. There are engineers at every major car company that focus on just the sound alone. They work in the NVH, or Noise, Vibration, and Harshness department. A completely unaltered engine sound has some abrasive tones. These engineers experiment with different diameter pipes, mufflers, bushings, and other insulation material to mute those unwanted frequencies and shape the engine tone to the company's liking. One super recognizable sound is the good old American V8. It's a really throaty, gurgly sound that everyone loves. But Why does it sound so much different than an 8-cylinder European engine? Let's ask some people at Donut.
American and European cars probably.
Probably just like different exhaust manifolds.
The passion involved with the production.
Round 2.
Probably all the cats and all the EGR valves and stuff like that that we have to have in America.
Probably just a firing order in which the pistons are going up and down. I'm a VQ type of guy.
Most European 8-cylinder engines use a flatplane crank, which means the lobes on the crankshaft are separated by 180 degrees. This makes the firing of the cylinders happen in a balanced way. Each cylinder fires from the opposite one across from it, a very consistent and uniform firing order. American V8s, on the other hand, use crossplane cranks, which have lobes at every 90 degrees from each other. This makes the firing seem a little more sporadic and unbalanced. It also creates moments when two cylinders on the same side of the block fire at the same time, producing a lower guttural noise, which adds to the ragged sound. Sometimes the intake can form an exhaust sound just as much as the exhaust or engine block itself. Cars like the Lexus LFA have a tuned intake sound. It has a surge tank under the hood that engineers from Yamaha tuned in order to generate the sound angels would make if they were in cars instead of in heaven. Not only that, they tuned the exhaust as well. How Yamaha went from making pianos to side-by-sides to saxophones to building and tuning Lexus engines, I'm not really sure. You all know that of rotary engine, right? Without getting too technical, a rotary engine has 3 firings per rotation of the eccentric shaft. When the exhaust phase and the intake phase overlap, some of the exhaust seeps into the intake chamber, and that's when you hear that noise. It's a really distinctive and kind of polarizing sound. I love it. Our friend Aaron Parker has a heavily modified RX-7 drift car that I think sounds amazing. You can check out the bumper to bumper on it here. I love rotaries, I need to get an RX-7. One engine that gets some flack for its sound is the Boxer engine, but I just think they're being Subi haters. This type of engine has horizontally opposed pistons and a unique firing pattern. Subarus are famous for having Boxer engines, and same with Porsches. But why do people love how Porsches sound and they hate on Subarus? The reason is because Subaru Boxer engines have unequal length headers, which means that the exhaust coming out of cylinders 1 and 3 has to travel a different distance than the exhaust coming off of cylinders 2 and 4. This affects the sound, producing a lower bass tone and a distinct rumble. I love how Boxer sounds. I love how Subarus sound. I think they're awesome. The older 2.5 liter WRX STI engines have unequal length headers. How many takes is this gonna? The older 2.5 liter STI engine has unequal length headers, but the new 2 liter WRX has equal length headers, which is why it sounds so much smoother. Ever since Porsche switched from a flat 6 to a turbocharged flat 4, people have started comparing the engine sound to a Subaru. This is because the new Boxster also has unequal length headers, resonators, and an asymmetrical muffler to add to that ragged sound. Don't believe me? Listen to this. Of course, there are a million other sounds that come from a car's engine. They're all music to my ears. I could go on forever, but we'll save that for another video. Let us know in the comments which engine you think sounds the best, and while you're at it, hit that like button so we can keep making videos for you.